Joined by Jeff Gordon, driver of the number 24 Exalta Chevrolet. Jeff, talk a little bit about coming into Michigan this weekend, but more importantly, your exciting sponsorship news announcement this weekend.
Yeah, no, we're very excited about that. This is a good track for us, especially the last time we were here. I thought things were going really well for us qualifying and in the race. And I think we learned a lot about, pit strategy and trying to maintain that track position. So hopefully that helps us get a better result here this weekend. And, this team's just been on an amazing roll. So having a lot of fun out there. And this has always been one of my favorite tracks. So it's been challenging today. I don't know what's going on with the tire or the conditions. It really throwing us all for a bit of a loop with the grip level in the front. But, I'm very excited about adding 3M to the 24 team in Hendrick Motorsports. They went and visited their facility. Amazing, what they're capable of doing and the things that they're involved with. And we already use many of their products at Hendrick Motorsports and building our Sprint Cup cars. And somebody who's built a couple homes over the years, I know how useful they are in the building process as well, and so many other applications. So we can't wait to take that relationship to a whole nother level, and their involvement with motorsports for so long in the Cup Series. They really know what this sport's all about, so we're excited to have them on board.
Okay, we'll open it up for questions now for Jeff. Please raise your hand. We'll get a mic to you. We'll start right there in the middle with Claire.
Claire B. Lang, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. I really want to ask you more about something that NASCAR talked about testing here at Michigan on Monday, and I'd love your reaction to the potential that you guys could adjust your own track bar from inside the car as a driver. Your name was actually brought up as someone who you might be able to do that, and that it might be interesting for you to.
Yeah, I mean, I had heard that they had been talking about it, so it's all kind of new to me that they're actually going to go forward with that. But I think, it's sort of a reaction to the change. We have so much of a change in traffic behind other cars that the balance changes so much that we're trying to figure out how we can adjust that balance when we get behind cars, and then to help passing and make the races more exciting and more competitive than they already are. And that's a step towards that. So that would be great. I'd love to know how much adjustment you're going to get. I always go back to adjustments that I used to have in the open wheel cars, and I used to dial myself right out of being competitive. So I want to make sure they don't allow me to have too much adjustment, or if they do, I'm going to make sure that the team tells me how far I can go with it.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll take a question here from Bob and then go to the back.
Bob Parker, Sporting News. Kind of no matter how you look at Saturday night's tragedy, there was some driver emotion apparently involved. Have you ever had a time where you felt like you've done something in or outside of a race car at the track you look back and say, man, that was unsafe or the wrong thing to do?
Outside of the car, I can't recall an incident like that, but obviously what happened between me and Boyer at Phoenix a couple years ago, that was me allowing my emotions to get the best of me and making a poor choice. And I certainly wish that I could take that back, but I couldn't. It happened. I don't feel like I was putting anybody in danger, but it certainly could have happened. I don't think people recognize the intensity that goes on within a race. Your heart rate, the adrenaline that's flowing. The cars from the outside just look like they're kind of rolling around there, and there's so much more going on in our bodies and in our minds that is why I believe we are athletes. When we get questioned about it, and until you're in that situation, you just can't really. There aren't words to describe what it's like, and yet when you're in that kind of environment, then sometimes your emotions can get the best of you and put you in a position to not make the best choices and decisions.
Okay, we got a question in the back, then we'll go back over to Wolfgang. Can we get another mic to him, please?
Hi, Jeff. Bob Duff from the Windsor Star. You mentioned pit strategy and how important it is here. I'm working on a piece on pit crews and kind of the change from the old style to where today they're basically athletes in the crew. And I know your team's often given credit for being the first to kind of go that route. What do you remember about when those changes first came about, and just talk about the value of having basically what are athletes in your crew?
Yeah, I think Ray Evernham's a much better person to ask that question to, because that was an area that he put effort into and put some other people in charge. I think he had a friend of his, Andy Papa, that was a real athlete, and I think that between Andy and Ray and maybe some others, they started thinking about the process and how to make it more consistent and faster, and realize that the physical attributes played a big role as well. And it's been evolving. I mean, throughout all the years, it's always been evolving, but that maybe was a time when it was taking a fairly big step. And I look at today, the way our pit crews train, and the type of physical shape that they're in. I mean, Rocco on my team, I've never seen a human being in the kind of shape this guy is in. It's just insane. That's what it takes these days to be fast and be consistent. And that split second is sometimes the difference between winning and losing, and that's big. So we put a lot of effort into it.
Okay, we'll take our next question from Wolfgang and then come back up to Jim and Jay.
Wolfgang Munzer from Germany, Rennsport Press Agency. Jeff, you said earlier when following a car, the balance is changing a lot. Is there any freedom in the NASCAR rules that you can work with aero packages like you do with open wheel racing?
I mean, there's times I wish I had the DRS in there for the straightaways. I've challenged my engineers to try to figure out a way to incorporate that in a consistent and safe manner, a fail-safe, I guess, system, and present it to NASCAR. But I mean, we're in a very similar situation. It's all motorsports, not just NASCAR, where we continue to improve the airflow over and under the car, making more downforce, and that means you're more dependent on how that air flows around the car. And when you take it away, it means that you're going to see a big shift in grip and balance. I can remember in the mid-'90s, it was all about aero push behind other cars and how we were really losing the front grip. And now the teams have done such a good job utilizing the splitter and keeping it down on the racetrack that now it just seems like we're losing more in the rear or total downforce when we're behind other cars.
Okay, we'll take our next question. Jim, go ahead.
Jim Peltz, the LA Times. Jeff, the situation last Saturday, regardless of how you look at it, I mean, the reaction to that among the public has been enormous. I mean, it seems like everybody has an opinion about it. We've already had a rules change about it less than a week later. I'm just curious, given how long you've been doing this, if the whole situation and the reaction to it surprised you at all.
Well, it's unfortunate, that, I mean, this is a terrible tragedy. There's no doubt about that. And throughout the years that I've been in racing in general, not just NASCAR, it's unfortunate that the times when we get the most attention and most controversial opinions or people really engaging is when it seems like there's a tragic accident or an incident that causes that. And I've been unfortunately involved where I've been in races where I've seen lives lost, and sometimes it's a failure, sometimes it's a judgment or just a complete accident, and yet that does seem to draw the attention of others outside the sport and get a lot within the sport, and you wish that there were things that we could do that were like a 5-wide finish, on the final lap of the Daytona 500 that could draw that kind of attention in a positive way, and that it doesn't take something like this to garner that kind of attention. But, it's At the same time, I don't necessarily agree with that, it happening like that, but at the same time, I guess I understand it. I mean, I've watched the video many times myself trying to understand it.
Okay, our next question, Jay.
Jay Pennell with Fox Sports. When you first sat down, you mentioned the tires in practice. You, Dale Jr., and Casey were all in top 11 in practice, but Jimmy was back in 39th spot. And you just talk about the issue that he might have been facing, and were you guys experiencing any of that as well?
Similar things. I did talk to Jimmy, and his seemed to be a little more extreme. And I don't know if it's that the sets of tires are inconsistent, or I don't know what's going on. He went to go talk to Goodyear, and I wanted to know what he heard from them. I'd like to talk to him as well. Something drastically has changed. I mean, we didn't have any of these issues the last time we were here. It wasn't like we were here that long ago, and something has changed. I mean, everybody's being challenged with it, or at least 95% of the people I've talked to have dealt with it, and it's strange. I feel like I'm at a different track with a different car with a different tire, and I'm not sure what's going on there, but we made improvements. I felt like we made improvements and worked around it and had some pretty good runs. So, I'm hoping that the rest of our teammates can do the same. Junior didn't seem to be happening with him. Casey, I think he was dealing with it a little bit at the beginning. I'm not sure about at the end, but yeah, Jimmy's is extreme, and I've heard several others. They're kind of commenting the same way. I don't know what it is, though. I can't tell you. I do know this tire was built in July, so it's a new tire. It's not like it's an old tire. So trying to get to the bottom of it in a hurry.
Okay, we have a question in the back. Okay.
Chase Wilhelm, Performance Racing Network. Jeff, as to the new rule announced by NASCAR today, what are your thoughts on tempers flaring more in the garage area after the race, as opposed to drivers showing their displeasure getting out of the car after a wreck on the racetrack?
I mean, I understand because of this situation, it forces everybody to sort of look at things a little bit more under a microscope and maybe make a adjustment here or there. For me personally, it doesn't change anything of how I'm going to go about things. I'm going to always try to keep my emotions in check, and I'm going to, use common sense. And that doesn't matter if it's on the track or off the track. And that, to me is what we all have to do, but it doesn't mean that things aren't going to escalate and things aren't going to happen. Something could get heated in the garage area, and I mean, things get heated all the time. It just we'll just kind of see what happens. But I don't think that what they announced today is going to change anything as to what's going to go on in the garage area.
Jeff, thank you very much
Yep.
for your time today.
Thank
Good
you.
luck this weekend.
Appreciate it.